It is not what you think you think, the hidden programs running your life. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Mind Engineer community. Here, Tommy Walker sharing insight and tools to help you understand a little bit more how the mind works and how to start making changes. One of the things that I tell people is that it's not what you think you think. And I know it sounds confusing, and people that have been following me for a while understand this. But if you aren't following me for a while, I want to share a little bit more. What does that mean? When I say it's not what you think, is that most of the times what's running the show are the subconscious programs that are hiding that you're not even aware of. As Carl Jung said many times, a lot of people, as they don't make what is in their unconscious conscious, that is running their life, and most people call it fate. So if you don't make conscious what is in the unconscious, what is in the unconscious is going to run your life, and you're going to call it fate. So what does that mean? When we're kids from 0 to 7 years old, we are in a very susceptible mindset where we start absorbing from the environment. So we mostly learn how mom treats herself, how dad treats himself, how they treat each other, and how they treat us or our siblings. That is the main way we start learning about the world. So imagine if your parents are struggling with money, you might start getting associations around money, adding meaning to money. So money is just a word. Money is a piece of paper. But a lot of people, and I've seen this in all these 17 years working with people, they attach meaning to different words. It could be communicating. I have worked with people that had lots of problems communicating with others, and they didn't understand why. And they started realizing that when they were kids, their parents were very harsh in the way they spoke. Their parents threw stuff in their face. Their parents yelled a lot. And they had normalized it so much, they were not even aware of it. And they were doing it to their partners, to their friends. And they didn't understand why their friends or partners would get sensitive, get defensive, walk away. And they started realizing when they started bringing these programs to the surface, it is about exploring the subconscious mind to get to know what we have inside of us that we're not even aware of. As I said, it could be communicating. It could be maybe about love. Love is about being right. Love is about, physical contact. Love is about doing stuff for others. Every person has their unique way of seeing the world. And then we get together, friends, family, partners, and the other person has their own way of seeing the world, interpreting the world. So I work a lot with individuals or even with couples where they have lots of communication issues. And most of the times is because as they have been wired and they're not aware of it, they bring that into a relationship, into a situation, and things go sideways and they don't even realize what is going on. So the idea, as I said at the beginning, is the hidden programs running your life is to be able to start entering into the subconscious mind to understand how the subconscious mind works and what are the different programs that you created, the meanings you have given to different things in your life. So I ask people today, nowadays, I'm working with a lot of people, and I ask them, what do you think about money? What do you think about love? What do you think about communication? And most people, many of them that have done spirituality work, mind work, healing work, whatever that is, most of them try to bring positive things around money, around love, about relationship, around companionship, about themselves, whatever. But they don't allow themselves to connect with what's going on deeper. When you're trying to convince yourself about something, unfortunately, you're covering up something else. And I see this every single session when I start working with people that at the beginning, they're telling me, blah, my parents were there for me. They loved me. They were loving. They were caring. They would give me, blah, blah, blah. And they kind of portray these parents, right? That you would hear them talking. You'd be like, whoa, what loving parents they had. And this doesn't mean that they were not loving what I'm going to share next. But yes, it could mean that there were things that their parents did that hurt them that they're not even aware of. So I was working with a man that he was telling me, my parents gave me what I needed. They were there for me. They provided. And as we started going deeper, this person started revealing that that wasn't much around. So how can dad give him everything he needs when dad is not much around? Yes, dad gave him a roof over his head, money to buy stuff, food. But when I asked them, were you able to connect emotionally with your dad? Most people tell me, no, not really. I couldn't. My dad was not a very emotional guy. He was, he would listen maybe, but emotions, no, not really. Okay, but we are emotional beings that think, and we need that emotional connection. So as we didn't have that emotional connection, maybe with mom, maybe with dad, maybe with both, we started feeling negative emotions. As we started feeling negative emotions and we didn't understand what was going on because nobody explained that to you, what you start doing from your mind, you start feeling pain, of course, and then trying to make sense of what's going on. So imagine that you feel lonely because you're not being able to connect with mom or dad. They're working a lot. They're not there for you when you need them as much as you need them. Don't get me wrong. Maybe they were there every now and then, but not as much as you needed them. So now you could have started creating some meanings like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable enough. There's something wrong with me. And what people start experimenting today or in the past, but they're not even aware of, they start seeing analysis paralysis. They could feel anxiety. They could go into procrastination. They could fall into perfectionism, into people pleasing, into fixing mode. Doesn't matter. People start creating behaviors to try to stop the pain that they experience as kids. I work with a lot of people that are successful, but no matter how much success they get, they feel really bad about themselves. They feel empty. They feel not good enough. They feel, frustrated. They don't feel fulfilled. It might last for a couple of minutes, hours, a couple of days, and then it's gone, and they're looking for the next thing that supposedly is going to give them what they need. And that has to do, again, with these programs, these stories, these beliefs you have created about yourself, and all these different things that I mentioned: money, success, failure, love, communications, whatever. We have all of us have added meaning to all of the words that you know so far. So when you don't, in a way, explore the mind to understand the different meanings you had given. Hey, Richard, how are you? So different meanings you had given to different things. Unfortunately, what's going to happen is that you're going to be stuck. Why? Because unfortunately, the mind is going to run the programs from the past. You cannot just tell the mind, oh, now I need to start doing diet. If for you, the word diet is something bad, or for you, food is comfort, just by telling yourself that you got to stop eating or you got to start doing this, the mind might not work like that because it has these programs that are running in the background. Once I was working with a woman that she wanted to stop eating candy and she couldn't. She had tried for years to stop eating candy, but she didn't realize, as we started exploring the mind and going into the subconscious mind, that deep down she had associated candy equals love. So when she ate candy, she felt loved, because when she was a little girl, her grandmother would give her candy and she felt a lot of love from her grandmother. So now she would give herself candies. And each time she said to herself that she needed to stop eating candies, she was actually telling herself that she didn't deserve love, to stop feeling loved. And that is not something that the mind wants to do, to stop feeling love, because it brings a lot of pain. So she couldn't stop eating candy because of that association. I was also working with another woman that she would always fall for the wrong guys. She would say really nice things about the guys that she wanted her to meet or to share with. And unfortunately, each time she would go for the wrong guy. as we started exploring the subconscious mind, the different programs, she realized that when she was a kid, mom would speak really bad about dad. Dad was a truck driver, wasn't much around, and that mom spent a lot of time speaking really badly about dad. So in this little girl's head, as she wants to feel loved and accepted by dad, and she thinks that dad, in a way, is, a role model, as mom also is another role model, she started creating an invisible list in her mind of how a guy should look like, how a guy should behave. So in her mind, subconsciously, she was looking for the guys that were selfish, self-centered, emotionally unavailable, not caring. She made a list in her mind subconsciously of these negative traits that a man should have because of how mom had trained her. Seriously, mom had trained her to believe that she needed to go out there looking for these type of guys. So many times we end up marrying a role model like mom or a role model like dad. We go out there seeking for those qualities because that's what we were exposed to. Sometimes as we're looking for that, sometimes, we're able to a little bit crack that and look for something very different. But most people don't realize that they're still seeking for that. So again, if we're not able to identify these programs running the show, it's going to make it very difficult to make changes in our life. Because if you have associated that when you click the Word document icon on Windows or on Mac, you just click that icon and Word is going to open up. Why do you think if you keep clicking on that icon, it's going to change what it's doing? And that's important to understand. The computer has been programmed in ways so that when you do certain things, the computer is going to give you certain output. If you keep doing the same things that the computer was programmed for, you're going to get the same results. If you keep doing what you have been programmed to do, you're going to keep getting the same results. So if you really want to start making changes, one of the first things we need to do is to start understanding how the mind works. The mind is not this weird computer negative thing that is trying to screw your life is against you. As a lot of people are, or the ego trying to screw you. No, they're not. No, the ego, not the mind. The ego and the mind, we can put it as kind of the same thing, are trying to protect you from pain. They're seeking for love or numbing the pain of the lack of love. So the more you go into war with the mind is ego against ego. And you're not going to be able to understand nor change the programs. You might try, you might have the chance to replace them for a little bit, maybe to, hack the mind for a little bit, but then eventually it's going to go back to what it has learned because that's what it was exposed to and it has realized that that is the best way to go. Although it might not be at this time, for many years it has worked like that. So beating yourself up, trying positivity, affirmations, or even gratitude to reprogram the mind, although a lot of people out there say it works, sorry, but it doesn't. Because if that were true, most of humanity that has access now to internet and to affirmations, positivity, gratitude, most of them should have changed their life in the way that they wanted. And unfortunately, it is not working again because the mind doesn't work like that. Seriously, if somebody comes to you and tells you, you need to change this, the mind doesn't work like that. It doesn't take that in and say, oh, I need to change this. No, there's two ways to change. You freak yourself out to change something, as in if you're smoking, if you're eating, you imagine yourself having a stroke, having a heart attack, dying, and that's why you need to stop doing what you're doing. Or you try with love, loving and accepting the different parts of you to be able to learn from them, gain information from them. They have great teachings for you, and then to be able to integrate that, to invite the mind, invite the mind to try something different. Invite the mind to try something different. Most people beat themselves up. Again, affirmations, positivity, all of that. And in some cases, very few in my work, but for most people, it doesn't. We need to start practicing loving and accepting the part of me that is maybe choosing to eat more than it should, to spend more time on social media, to, do whatever, drink, smoke, drugs, anything that part of you is choosing to numb the pain or seek for love. You need to start practicing loving and accepting, because that part of you that is doing that is still you. It's Tommy. It's another part of you. It's not the enemy. It's not the ego, as the ego is a creation from the outside that you need to fight. You need to win, as if it were a war. Whenever you start treating the ego that way, again, it's the ego, another part of you playing as, oh, I need to change, but it's still ego, fighting ego. When ego fights ego, when any part fights ego, that part of you fighting is still ego. So you are reinforcing ego. Ego is just changing the mask and putting a different one. And that's what I tell people that most people do when they start spirituality, when they start personal development. They remove a mask to put another one, or they put a mask on top of the other. So imagine, I'm going to give you an example. I've said this many times. Somebody that has some control issues, control freak, quote unquote, and now what they're doing is they're controlling themselves not to control. That is the best example of somebody that is just putting a mask over a mask. Oh, I used to try to control everybody else. Now I control myself not to control others. That is still ego. That is still control. Another example is somebody that cannot let go, and now they start controlling themselves to let go, to forgive. That is just putting a mask over a mask. You're not really finding the root cause behind that. So one of the biggest things that I help people with is to be able to truly understand the root behind any behavior. As you're able to understand that, as you're able to see a version of you doing that to protect itself, to find love, to whatever that is, and you start being able to love and accept that part of you and not go into war, that reduces the pain. And as you reduce the pain, things start changing, guys. So my recommendation is to start practicing compassionate exploration, to start exploring the mind with compassion, understanding that the mind, the ego, whatever it's doing, it is doing to try to protect you, and to start challenging everything you've learned to choose. So imagine that you have hundreds of thousands of programs in the back of your head, and that you start slowly discovering them, seeing why they're there, what are their purpose, and seeing if they're still working for you or not for you. As we start doing that, we keep what works and we start letting go what doesn't work. As we practice that, things start changing, guys. Okay? So I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoy this. If you want to know more, remember, I have free training. Just write the word free on social media and we'll share free training with more insight and tools to start understanding how the mind works and how to start practicing this unconditional love to be able to start bringing changes. So thank you very much, and I'll see you next time, everyone.